This is Ben.
And I'm John.
And this is Steal This Podcast.
A podcast where we steal the format of other people's podcasts.
Also the podcast that John just told me how many listeners we have. And it's pretty much just triple the two of us.
If you're out there, I love you.
And we definitely hedged our bets by having two of our maybe most common listeners on podcast episodes, because now they're not going to listen to.
Yeah. Well, we made sure that they would listen to theirs.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll pay dividends. I practiced that word in my head 3 times before I attempted to say it and still fucked it up. Because we had that YouTube video of a daughter's first date, and Jason is the reason that we got like thousands of views on that. So maybe he'll pass this around as well.
Yeah. All of his Air Force buddies, he'd be like, hey, listen to this podcast.
Listen to the
episode of my podcast. Listen to this specific episode.
Listen to my football takes, my brother's football takes, and the takes of a guy who doesn't like football at all. And see if that's a good selling point.
Yeah.
Today we are going to be stealing the podcast Lizard People.
That's right.
Lizard People, comedy and conspiracies.
Ooh. I have a fascination with conspiracy theories. I like them.
I do as well, with a caveat. There's a caveat that I list whenever when I'm tour guiding and we stop by John Dillinger's death site. There's a conspiracy attached to it, and I tell people I like conspiracy theories when they don't hurt anyone. And the idea that Dillinger didn't die there that day doesn't hurt a fucking person.
That's a very good distinction. Yeah, I like fun conspiracy theories, not like anti-Semitic. I
like conspiracy theories that make you go, interesting.
I don't necessarily like we should burn down the synagogue,
The conspiracy theories I like, the outcome is like I have like a fun anecdote to share with people, not violence.
And I tend not to believe them for the most part, because I don't the thing that hangs me up on a lot of them is I just don't think people are that organized. Like absolutely. A lot of them is like, that would require a lot of people to be really quiet for a long time. And I just don't think human nature lends itself to that. Like faking the moon landing. Come on. Like, there's no way that many people would have kept their mouth shut. Yeah.
So things like that. Before I don't want to ask you that because you still don't know what conspiracy I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So part of the format of their shows, they bring someone on that talks about this conspiracy. And then there's a little segment where the host, her name is Caitlin Hempstead. She has rebuttals. So I was thinking after I give you all my stuff, you can have like 5 minutes to like look at the internet and find some stuff.
Okay.
I didn't tell you ahead of time because I kind of wanted that dollop reaction thing. You not knowing some of the stuff. And then they do a little bit of a scale of 1 to 10 of do you believe? And then do you want to believe?
Nice. Which I like that, because I don't believe most of them, but I want to believe some of them.
A lot of them I want to believe, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. From now on, this is just what I think, because
again, like you said with the John Dillinger one, it hurts no one. So
it hurts no one whatsoever. So there is a primary one, but like since John, you've never gone on my tour, like I'll like, would you like before or after me just telling you the John Dillinger thing? Because I already brought it up.
Let's go ahead and get it out of the way.
We'll do it right now.
I think it's Dillinger.
You what?
I think his name's Dillinger.
Dillinger?
Yeah, I think it's an odd pronunciation on it.
I've never heard that. I'm not disagreeing. I've never heard it, and I don't think it sounds as good, so I'm not going to do it.
I don't blame you.
It's just like conspiracy theories. I don't like this one.
Yeah, like no, it's Dillinger.
So the site of where he died is in the alley that's just like 100 feet or so away from the entrance to a theater. He went and saw a movie that night. He watched a movie that was about bank robbers. He had a lady on each arm. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give you the whole thing. I'm going to give you the conspiracy and then also the Bachelorette edition because it's more fun that way. So he had a lady on each arm, and I do this all the time. And as they walked out, there was a short guy that was standing near the entrance. And he had a cigar in his mouth, and he was twirling it in his fingers. And as Dillinger walked out with his 2 dates, which we'll go over who they are in just a second, as he walked out with his 2 dates, he started going at like a regular pace, and they started walking a little faster and a little faster. And eventually was doing a dead sprint, dragging the ladies with him. And at that moment, the guy lit his cigar, and men rushed in from all sides. And Dillinger let go of the women and ran for the mouth of the alley to turn down the corner. He was shot in the back and died right there, like fell down dead immediately. So he was trying to get to the alley because that's where one of the ladies lived. So he had his girlfriend, and then the other lady was a local madam, and that's where she lived.
Okay.
So here's the fun stuff. The conspiracy is that he didn't die that day. A guy named Jimmy Lawrence died there instead, which recently Dillinger had undergone plastic surgery twice.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't know that. I don't know that much about John Dillinger.
Well, and like back then, it wasn't like as obviously not nearly as good as it is today. And I haven't seen a lot.
Probably just
like
some guy that like, yeah, sure, I'll fuck your face up.
Yeah. I'll shave down the bone of your nose. Whatever. Cool. Yeah. I'll put some shit in your cheeks to puff them out. Whatever. But there was
what happens.
But there was a guy in Chicago. He died in Chicago. That's why we go there on one of my tours, because that's where I live. And Jimmy Lawrence was a guy who lived in the area who was also like involved in crime, if I remember correctly. And Jimmy Lawrence was also an alias that Dillinger went by sometimes. So it's possible that he got plastic surgery to look more like the guy that he was already kind of saying that he was. On the autopsy table, they brought in his dad and his sister, and one of them said, like, that's not my brother, but that is my son, or vice versa. Like, one identified him and one was like, no. The madam, she wore an orange dress. That way the law enforcement would know who Dillinger was. She did this so she wouldn't be deported, but they deported her anyways. Maybe they did it because she gave them the wrong guy. This was also a mutual beneficiary thing for the FBI, because they were a brand new organization, and if they failed at this, they might have just been dissolved, and like history would be way different. So it would like behoove them both. Hoove like Hoover. So
do you do that on the tour?
Yeah. Once I find a good one, I stick with it. And then the best little piece of information is that in the museum of like, this is where, the John Dillinger Museum, the gun on display of the gun that shot Dillinger was manufactured after he died.
Yeah. Now, do they have a theory about where he really died? Or is the theory he could be in the wind somewhere, you know? Well,
it's just that he just kept going. Yeah, he just went.
Yeah, kept going.
Yeah, there's not one. And like some people's like ideas, but like he had like inundated him so much in this life of crime, like there's no way he could have given it up. Something we don't talk about at all is that he was only a bank robber for 13 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we make it seem like it's a decade.
Yeah. So yeah, he could probably quit that cold turkey without like
just
too much
do
trouble.
something else.
Yeah.
I think it's fun, and again, this hurts absolutely no one.
Yeah, exactly. Like
it doesn't fucking matter.
And to me, like that's decently applause. Like there's some plausibility there.
It's a hard one to poke holes in, because like I mean it's based on a lot of facts. There's not a lot of hearsay. It's really just like connecting dots and then like forming the conclusion of like, oh, well, this could go a different way.
Yeah. So that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. So the Bachelorette version of this thing. So he was a bad boy. He was a bank robber. So there's a legend about that. He died with a lady on each arm. More of a legend of a ladies' man. Also, pretty much anyone could go to an autopsy at this time. You're also a listener of the Dollop. You're aware of this.
I was wondering about the. Are you on where I think you're
you're right. Yeah. They actually did. I forgot that they did an episode on the Dollop about it. So
I haven't seen it, but I just heard of him having like,
Yeah. So when I'll have to stand up for the video for this. So on the autopsy table, he died during the summer. And in the pictures of it, there are women in like bikinis for back then, because they came straight from like the swimming pool. So when he died, like the sheet was laid over him and his hand was positioned here. And so it made it look like, as I say, rigor mortis set in one place specifically more than anywhere else. It's obviously his fucking hand. But what started off as like maybe 8 inches, maybe 10. Eventually it grew to the rumor of about 18 inches.
Nice.
And because of different people asking about it, and eventually like it made the paper, and like the FBI had to come out and say that no, they did not give his dick to the Smithsonian Institute. And eventually the Smithsonian had to come out and say, no, we don't have his dick somewhere.
I love two official organizations having to make public statements about penis. Like,
yeah,
I just love that. Like, somebody's day as a publicist was either made or ruined.
Yeah, like
knowing they had like this has to be addressed.
We're talking about it. So somebody at some point labeled something specifically enough that the Smithsonian cannot get rid of it. They filled out the proper card that says like from FBI to care of Smithsonian, and they made some type of a silicone polymer to where there is John Dillinger's Dillinger in the basement of the Smithsonian.
That's awesome. Or was it,
in fact,
the other guy?
Yeah,
which would be really funny to me if
Lawrence's
like, yeah.
I've never thought that before until this moment.
That would be great.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. I call that the Bachelorette edition. If I tell that people who aren't drinking, then it's like it's weird. When people are drinking, it's fine. It's fun asking like on corporate events of like, are things not suitable for work suitable? And some are like, no, and they're like, yeah, I don't give a fuck.
That would just be so awesome if you didn't check and then like somebody raised your hand and like, you're talking an awful lot about his penis.
Yes, I am. Because I have it. That's right. I have it right. Yes, I am talking a lot about his penis. Do you have a question or?
Yeah, like, and?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you not love history, sir?
Do you not want me to cede the floor to you? Do you want to talk about his penis a little bit? Let's all talk about a historical penis that we're familiar with. So we're not here to talk about John Dillinger's penis. That just kind of
no
popped up. So let's see if I can get this right. Are you ready, sir?
I am ready.
Oh, I gotta get my notebook out the proper way.
Oh, I'm excited about a notebook.
April 15th, 1912. It's more of a dollop opener, but I thought it was fun.
Yeah. Hey, any chance you have to do the dollop?
Any chance you have to shout a date? Are you familiar with what happened April 15th, 1912?
I am not.
Well, it is commonly believed that on that day, the Titanic sunk.
Ah, okay.
But I am here to tell you it was not the Titanic that sank. Are you aware of this conspiracy, sir?
Oh, is it the one? I think I've seen something where like it didn't sink. I actually saw an article about this, but I didn't click it because I was like, wait, what?
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad I did not.
So the theory is a ship did sink April 15th, 1912, and 1,500 people did die. But the conspiracy is that it was not the Titanic. It was a different ship owned by the same company. So a little background on this. So the early 20th century, there was a battle of the big ships. Two different big ship companies were rivals. One was the Cunard Steamship Company. I didn't look it up. I don't care. They had the Lusitania that was the fastest ship at the time, and eventually was sunk by a U-boat. And
I was about to say that one. That was ringing some historical bells there.
Yeah. The other company was the White Star Line, and the White Star Line was bought by J.P. Morgan in 1912. And he bought it and gave the company's chairman the opportunity to build luxury ships known as Olympic class ships. And they built three. One of them, the Titanic, the Britannic, and the other they named Olympic. So the Olympic class ship is named Olympic.
Somebody had an off day.
It was the first one that they built, so maybe they named it after. Or vice versa. However. So the Olympic was a big success. However, on its fifth voyage, it collided with another ship called the HMS Hawk. It had they determined that the incident was the Olympic's fault, and so the White Line Star was not going to get any insurance money out of it or anything, and they had a lot of repairs that they had to make. And for some reason, I couldn't find why they explained this. The Titanic's maiden voyage was delayed from March 20th to April 10th. I couldn't find out why, but that's then less money coming in from them as well.
Sucks for them.
That sucks for them. So their theory, the theory on how the company was going to save themselves was by faking the Olympic as being the Titanic, sinking the Titanic, and then getting insurance money off of that and save the entire company. I don't know why, but your video right now looks like that Scanner Darkly animation. I like it. So it
looks clear on my end. So
yeah, I mean, but it's this side that's recording, but I'm not going to do a thing to it because I like it. It's fun. It's very fun.
I don't mind.
On a side note, I was listening to one of the lizard people today, and they were talking about how octopus are aliens. And
I thought about that one.
She said that the Titanic, when they were like searching for it on the ocean bottom, is the reason that they first started mapping the ocean floor.
Wow.
That was the reason. And
that just seems like a good idea to do in general, because it's like most of the planet.
Nobody cared. And she said even today, I think she said as of 2017, only 6% of the ocean floor had been mapped. And they went to the UN and they said, what's up?
Oh, I was just thinking it kind of boggles the mind as far as that goes. Like that's a lot of the planet that we're just like,
yeah, like whatever. But the UN said that 2020s like would be the decade of the ocean or whatever, but still no additional funding. It's all like user generated in some way. But
we'll
so
get to
far,
Sequest eventually.
But we did jump from 6% to like 23%. That's freaking huge over like 5-6 years.
How much of that is just James Cameron's money?
I haven't listened that far into it yet. I don't know. It's very possible it's more than we like to admit. Excuse me.
He's got more of it now.
He does have more of it. Okay, so they're going to switch the Olympic with the Titanic and claim compensation and sink it and claim the compensation. The only people that would know were the people in charge. So JP Morgan, ISME, who I mentioned earlier, Lord Pirret, and Thomas Andrews.
No, just to make sure, they're just they're just going to switch ships, right?
They're just switching them, and they're going to sink the one that already is broken.
Okay.
I did leave out. I'm sorry. I did leave out.
I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page.
Right, but
I was a little unclear on that, but yeah, okay.
Right. I did leave out that when the Olympic crashed with that other ship, the Olympic was like heavily damaged. Like the repairs were going to be quite extensive. It phrased it that it limped back to port. So like it was pretty fucked up. So
the Olympic limped back.
Oh, yes, it did. So there's those 4 men, and then pretty much anyone who like built them would know the difference. But you could really only spot the difference if you're looking at them side by side. Like if you looked at one picture and looked at the other, you would have no idea. And at some point, I'll send you the links of these. That way you can see like the different images and such.
That's kind of funny to me too, because like all the like hubbub about the Titanic is like biggest ever, like it's so big, and then it was like, oh, it's identical to the one that exactly. And it's like it's identical to the one that it's basically identical to the one that
it's so crazy
just was out there.
Yeah, it was just out there, and Kate
Winslet wasn't on that one though.
It comes up a little later on, so I'll tell you now that like all of the promotional materials for the Titanic actually are the Olympic in the picture. Because they just copied the same stuff they already had printed. So like some of these sites try to frame it as like, yeah, that was part of the conspiracy. As someone who's like been in production in some way, it's like, no, they already had these pictures.
To save some cash.
You have no idea how much, like, they already have these pictures. It's fine. So the first thing that they did was they had to carpet the Olympic floor because it's supposed to look brand new, and the Olympic had already been out 5 times, so there was like footprints everywhere and like stains from drinks being spilled. So they had to carpet it to like cover up all of the wear and tear that they had already accumulated. Parts of the ships had to be switched out. One section was cabins, and they changed it over to promenades. They called it on the B deck.
Now that's one thing. I guess I should wait till the rebuttal on that.
No.
That's one thing that like there'd be a lot of people involved in that. Like
yes,
there'd be a lot of workers that were like, by the way, I've switched it. But that was before social media, and like no one was interviewing them.
Yeah.
So I can see where they could get away with that as far as like who's like they don't give a shit, and they're like, yeah, switch one ship to another, but that is one hole. That's a lot of people doing it.
Yeah, and I mean it does come up later on, so we'll come back to that thought. But so I hope that I remember this funny thing when we come back to it in a second.
Okay. I'll try to remember.
So one thing, and this is like the biggest part of it, and this is where I actually should. Well, oh yeah, I can just show it to you on my phone.
Yes.
Unplug this. So one thing that they couldn't change is the space of the windows.
Okay.
So the Titanic at the bottom, they're very evenly spaced, and then the Olympic, they're just kind of like all over the fucking place.
Yeah, that seems piss poor as far as the Olympic goes.
I don't understand why they even did it that way.
And then the Titanic's got that like weird little spacing there in the middle part.
Yeah, out of nowhere, and then like it resumes.
Why? Exactly.
That one I maybe understand. If like that's probably like a beam, like a
maybe
like a more solid area of it.
Possibly, yeah.
And then the other part, they mention it right there, but then they don't actually say it. Let's see if I can find that on one of the other sites real quick. Sorry, it's 4 different websites of looking through.
Oh yeah. Generations before us never dreamed of having so many open tabs at once.
What? What you
That
say?
was a meme I saw earlier. Earlier today, I saw a meme that said like the generations before us never dreamed of having so many open tabs at once.
I like that a lot. That's really funny. This is another fun shot of the windows.
Okay, yeah.
So the top 2 are like actual looks from the bottom of the ocean, and then simplified, and then the very bottom is the actual Titanic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
okay.
That looks pretty.
Yeah, that one's pretty on there. This one's
that one.
This one's a little more complicated. This is like showing the different amount of portholes.
Okay.
That like no matter what you do, you can't add a porthole at a moment's notice.
Yeah, that would be a lot of work.
So the one on this side is the Olympic, and then this is the Titanic, and you can just see the difference.
You just really want me to see those portholes.
Do you see the difference of them? Yeah, one has 16 and one has 14. So even
frozen. Oh, there we go.
No, I was just being really still.
I can't hear you now, sir.
What? No.
Now, I would think with all the underground like videographing, and they're looking through all their stuff on the Titanic, you would think they'd have counted portholes at some point.
Right, it's showing like the portholes that are down there, like it's the same as like the windows that I showed you.
Okay.
But the pictures that I showed you, one of those is like when the Titanic is about to take off. Like is leaving Southampton is where they were taking from. So it's a picture of that day versus like pictures of the Titanic like actually in port, like off.
I'm just saying, I would think like they could just take these like the schematics and then just this seems like an easy thing to disprove if they could just take the schematics of like what the Titanic's supposed to be and then do a deep sea dive, get James Cameron in there and go down and like, oh, we've measured windows and like, there we go. Like,
but I mean, the picture that we looked at a second ago, I mean, that's the same thing as the portholes, that like it's down there and this is what they've already seen.
Yeah. They're like, we're not going to spend money to disprove this conspiracy theory. But...
Yeah, we're not going to worry about that. So you were talking about these. I mean, like, that's a lot of people that keep their mouth shut. And reportedly, a guy named an Irish guy, and you will not believe that he's Irish based on his name. An Irish guy named Paddy Fenton. So a man in Australia sent a letter to the Northern Star newspaper in 1996 and said that his son had a conversation with Patty Fenton, whose nickname was Patty the Pig. That's crazy. His name's James, and then Patty was a nickname, and then he got a further nickname of Patty the Pig.
Already not crazy about the 1996 aspect.
Why?
Because that's a long period.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Like from now, or like a long time after?
Well, like, are you saying that he said that he worked on it?
So Patty did in fact work on it.
Okay.
So
and then told someone in 1996, like almost.
He told him at some point. It doesn't say when, but then in 1996, a man sent a letter to this newspaper saying that his son had talked to Patty. So it doesn't say when the conversation exactly took place.
Yeah.
But an excerpt from the letter, so this is a quote of the letter, says, when the surviving crew got to port, sorry, this is after they've made all the switches and everything. When they got back to port, they were all taken aside and met by two men, one in a high position in the company, the other was in a high position of the government. The government man read the crew the, quote, Official Secrets Act, explaining that if they told of the real reason for the sinking or the rumors of an insurance scam, they would serve a minimum of 20 years in jail and would never get a job again. So, I mean, this isn't necessarily concrete proof, but absolutely it took place. Okay, so this is the funny thing I was thinking. So
a reason why they might not have talked.
Yeah, and it makes sense that you would threaten them, but also they're just working on fucking boats and they don't give a shit.
Yeah,
it's also kind of that like maybe if you didn't say anything, they wouldn't even have noticed.
Yeah, no. Like, hey, you want me to make this boat look like that boat? Sure.
Sure, yeah, we'll make that boat look like this boat. You want to take this thing off this boat and put it on that boat? Sure, yep, just a regular Tuesday.
I wonder why the government would have, like, or did they just threaten with, like, a made-up government thing about, like...
I mean, because just like any company today that's like a big company, like they're financing the government's financing them.
Yeah, so I can see that, like scratching backs and whatnot.
Yeah, everyone's in everyone else's pocket.
Okay, yeah.
So here's the big one.
Okay.
A different big one. So before the Titanic went out, JP Morgan had said that he was going to be on board. He was scheduled to be, but then day of canceled being on the trip. He said that he was ill, but then 2 days later was spotted in France being perfectly fine. The other guy that was mentioned, Ismay, one or the other, also canceled last minute because his wife was sick. So I guess they're like, yeah, if I say I'm sick, that'll be too obvious. But if I say my wife is sick, like, it's a little bit different. But they were just fine a couple of days earlier in Wales. That one's not as, because that's like beforehand.
Yeah.
Like the 2 days after, that's good. But 2 days before.
Yeah.
But anyways, both of them canceled last minute. So that's pretty fucking fishy. I'm just knowing it.
That is weird. Although, like, I can see where he would just, like, I didn't feel like going on that trip, and I'm rich, and some chick in, like, Barcelona said that, or wherever he was, he'd like, I'll just go and do that instead, and I'll make an official. I'll just say I'm sick and not like I don't feel like boarding the Titanic and get any kind of weird bad press.
Yeah,
I can see where that would come up.
But the two highest people, like, I mean, it was kind of
yeah, that is no, yeah, that is.
And I'm pretty sure Ismay was British, so him staying around, that's fine. But JP Morgan was definitely American. So him going back on this ship that he's paying for and everything. There's a side conspiracy that I don't really care as much about. But it ties in a little bit that Morgan purposefully sank the Titanic to get rid of his competition, not the other boat company, but competition in Congress or something. Like he wanted a bill passed, and some of the senators or whatever were on the Titanic, and he was taking them on a trip, and then he canceled. That way he could kill them off so that he could get something passed. I didn't do as much research on that one because I was the same way of like, whatever, just came off.
I don't really like that one because what was he going to do? Like, hey, drive into an iceberg.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's something I don't think I can find it in one of these 4 websites, and I can't remember if it was one of these 4, but there's a further conspiracy of it that they didn't actually hit an iceberg. And which, I mean, tying into this one, that it was already damaged. And it's citing people who survived said that they didn't really hear a crash. They just kind of heard like a scratching or like kind of a noise or like something or other.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's not bad because at the speed that they are supposedly going and the size of the object that they hit, it would be a pretty big fucking crash. Like not too long ago, I was in a CTA bus here in Chicago, like one of the big city buses, and a car just kind of like tapped the side of the bus at like an intersection, and the whole fucking thing shook. And like it's a big ass bus versus like it was a little car. So yeah, like I mean, going full speed and like hitting an iceberg would be more than just kind of like a little tremor. So yeah, I do like that bit quite a lot. That's a big piece for me. This part I don't understand because it's insinuating one thing and then it doesn't come to fruition. There were 2 ships that were the closest ones to the Titanic when it sank were the Californian and the it's gone somewhere else now. Caparthide or something like that. I forget where it is. But the Californian ignored the flares and everything else, and it didn't go until the next morning. And by that point, it was just dead bodies. But it seems like this article is implying that instead of the Californian having passengers, it had blankets and warm clothes, as if like they were a preemptive rescue boat, but then they didn't actually go rescue.
Yeah, that's odd.
So I don't completely understand that part at all. But going with the no passengers thing, the Titanic did not sell any tickets from going from New York to Boston, which apparently was a common thing at the time. I don't know that. I mean, I don't know any of this for fucking sure. But like the way that it phrases is that like that was a usual thing, and they didn't sell any of those tickets. Which, if I was doing a money making scheme, honestly, I would have sold tickets.
Yeah. Like, hey, the more the merrier.
So I think that's like a point for and a point against.
Yeah, that's kind of both. Now, one thing that bothers me in general is, didn't they look kind of like dumbasses in this whole thing? Like the company looked foolish. Yeah.
Well, I didn't look at it because it wasn't an article that pertained exactly to this. But I mean, I looked at it briefly, and supposedly, like the unsinkable thing is a myth that we perpetuated after the fact because it's but I didn't see like a lot of evidence that that's actually true, but that does kind of make sense. We've made 50 movies about it.
That does scan, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, the unsinkable Molly
way
Brown.
More hyped up. Yeah, they would get made way more hyped up at, but I would still think it wouldn't be a good look for them in general.
Yeah, because the Olympic just crashed into something, and then we just crashed into an iceberg. Like that's not. That's poor. I mean, but all press is good press.
And if the company's going under anyway,
right. And if the
they need that insurance money.
if the California actually was a preemptive one, and maybe they just got the timing off or whatever, and they didn't intend for 1,500 people to die, because like if it just crashed and like only a few people died, like that wouldn't be that bad of a look. But and I didn't realize how many it was till I was looking at this. 1,500. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh. So I think
I actually read a thing. Okay, yeah, I'll let you. I read a thing that said afterwards they made a law that you have to have like a lifeboat for every person because there weren't enough lifeboats on the Titanic. But then that screwed things up because that's too many lifeboats, and like ships were getting weighted down by like lifeboats that they don't actually need. Which.
Oh yeah, a lifeboat per person, or like a seat on a lifeboat per person.
Like they just had too many lifeboats. Like,
no. Oh. I don't know. I don't remember which article it was, but it said that eyewitness report said that the lifeboats were being lowered from above a certain deck, and that was another point of being bullshit. That the way the Titanic was instructed, it wouldn't be lowered above anybody's eye line, like that they were. So maybe it was like from people standing on the top deck, they saw them being lowered, but on the Titanic, they weren't at the top or something like that. That said that the eyewitness accounts of how the lifeboats were going down wasn't how the Titanic was designed.
Yeah, which to me, there's a grain of salt on that just because like they don't know what's going on. Like eyewitness accounts, we talked about that in a podcast before, are all nonsense.
I do, except this is different because it's just, I remember something being over my head as opposed to the lifeboats were blue, and in fact they're red.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, and then is it a completely different lifeboat setup from Titanic versus the Olympic, or?
That's what they were saying. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I can.
Yeah. So they were apparently stored in a completely different place. So that that I can grasp as well. So when the Olympic was finally decommissioned officially, was in 1935, like over 20 years later.
Oh wow, yeah.
Part of the wood paneling and other parts, like the staircase, was taken and used in the White Swan Hotel in Alnwick, UK.
Okay.
The paneling used showed the number on the frame that says 401. And when things were being built in Belfast, Ireland, everything was given a number so you know like what things are being built for which thing. And 401 was a number that was given to the Olympic, where the Titanic was 400. I'm sorry. Backwards, because they took apart the Olympic. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
I got you. Yeah.
So
that's
either way, like it had the wrong number.
That's pretty compelling to me. Like,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, there is still like a chance of like being confused, or just like, I mean, the panel was supposed to be, they're supposed to be somewhat identical, so it wouldn't be surprising if you're getting things in the wrong spot. But yeah, that's a pretty good one. Yeah,
that's pretty hard to. You're like, well, there could be a clerical error, but yeah, I mean, yeah, there could, but no, that's hard to circle around to me.
Yeah, that's a more difficult one. Yeah, and then once again, all the I find it funny again. The advertising were pictures of the Olympic, but it's like, I mean, that's not that big of a deal at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's just people saving money.
Yeah. So this guy is having a book come out where he says in the book, oh, actually, this was from a long time ago. It doesn't matter. Of saying that
a book came out.
Yeah, it already came out. But some of the like fun quotes from it, of him saying he can prove it. Again, I mentioned the promenades versus the cabins. Those were some eyewitness accounts that things weren't quite where they're supposed to be. Oh, here it is. The lifeboats being lowered, and that was supposed to be the Olympic instead. looking at like the ship specifications of like where the passengers were located on the boat. So again, like from going underwater, they can find those things out.
Yeah, I would think like one expedition down there, we could really prove or disprove this with like the schematics. If they have that,
Right.
Of course, we're talking about schematics from years and years
they've cared
ago.
about this for so long. I mean, just the Titanic in general has been so talked about that it would seem like they would still have those things unless a cover up.
That is actually something I didn't think about. If the company was like, they could switch out the schematic without that much trouble.
Yeah. Oh shit. I was thinking they could just have them destroyed, but you're right. They could just relabel them and big deal.
Yeah. Like copy them like I am, relabel them like, hey, here you go. Here's all of our, because it'd be their stuff.
Yeah. So it was this.
Although who would have predicted at the time that like, hey, decades later, there's going to be some people coming down and there's
assholes
like 20% of the ocean floor. Yeah.
Some assholes are going to question all of this.
Yeah.
The only one other thing I think that I have is somebody else who canceled his trip was Milton Hershey.
Okay.
The chocolate Hershey guy.
I was about to say, is that the Hershey I'm hoping that is?
That's the one. Ow, I hurt my heel on the floor. Yeah. Yep, the Hershey Kiss guy. Awesome. Who he got his first chocolate machine during the First World's Fair here in Chicago, and he called it a Hershey's Kiss because it looked like the machine was kissing the conveyor belt.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
I also really like the idea of like all the super rich guys like calling each other up and like, don't board the flight. And then somebody was like,
don't do it.
Or don't board the ship. But then somebody was like, the hell was Molly Brown? And then,
I was going to use just a made-up name, but no, Molly Brown's so much better. Yeah, fuck Molly Brown. Should we call Molly Brown? She's a woman.
Yeah, she can board the ship. Come on.
Do you know what Molly Brown's first on nickname is? She'll be fine.
She'll be first on the lifeboat. One thing that I will say, this is Titanic related. I hate the whole argument about like, would Leo fit on the door
so much.
I hate it. Like,
I hate it. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and get out there. First off, I'm tired of hearing about it in general. I'm so tired. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit.
Even if he would have physically fit on it, it would have sank in like that. The buoyancy is the issue, not like whether he can physically have room on it.
When he tries to get up,
he tries and
he
sinks.
Goes back down, like, and they don't cancel this idea because he won't fit. They think he'll fit. That's why he originally tries to get up, but then it sinks.
It's such a stupid.
It's so dumb.
It was thoroughly covered in the movie, and they even got James Cameron be like, "Well, maybe he would have, but
I know, and that pissed me off even more. That Cameron,
don't be a coward.
Come on, coward, you fucking pussy. Oh God,
come on, he didn't fit, or it would have sunk it. Like, come on.
I hate the argument. I hate that argument so much. I hate it.
Yeah. I'm glad we're both I'm glad we're both in agreement on it because it's just so stupid.
It's like so many things on the internet of that. I'm just tired of it. Just stop. Who cares? It's like what we covered on our Christmas episode about like arguing if Die Hard's a Christmas movie. Shut up.
Yeah. It's like, well, clearly in this fictional story, they established that he would have died.
Yeah. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. That's the whole important part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
so
another guy canceled.
So in summation, a lot of rich guys canceled. The windows don't match up. The portholes don't match up. They did it for money. They had opportunity.
Yeah.
Motive.
Excuse me. Yeah.
That whole Californian ship thing still doesn't make sense to me, and why all that stuff. Yeah. You got any more rebuttals you've been sitting on?
No, like I said, the biggest one is they look like idiots.
Yeah, they don't look good from it. And yeah, just like most conspiracy theories of like someone's gonna talk. And like
yeah, there's that, and someone's going to talk. But then again, I can totally see where like a dock worker from like the 19, I forget what year it was, but
12.
yeah, 1912 isn't going to like stop the presses. We made this ship look like that ship, you know.
We made it look like that one, and then it sank.
Yeah, you know, like yeah, who gives, you know, I could. That's my, you know, the sheer number of workers involved, and then there's also the we're going to get insurance money, but we're also going to look very foolish.
Yeah, yeah.
But as far as conspiracy theories goes, I'll say this: there was a lot of really valid points that
the images of the
yeah,
the
that
windows
was
and the portholes. That's pretty fucking strong.
Yeah, and the staircase was was pretty hard to argue
number.
about. Like, yeah, the numbers, like that's awful fishy. Like, why would that number be off?
And it didn't say a single item had the number. So like if one panel had the wrong number,
yeah,
but the whole section just seems a little bit more fishy. But also they could have made the whole section in one area and put it on the wrong one. But then there were so many things about how I dive into it specifically, but even though the outside looked very familiar, there were a lot of things on the interior that were vastly different. So that staircase may not have fit in the other one. Oh, but then if it didn't, then that goes against them.
Yeah, that kind of shoots that theory in. yeah, that actually does kind of that's the only thing I could think of that kind of shoots the hole in that theory. It's like, why would they move the whole staircase from one ship to the other if you're, you know, like it would be just as easy to.
I don't have it here, but they actually, but like so. I forget how long the voyage took overall, but I believe that it said it sank on its 5th night. So even at this point, let's say it was halfway. Let's just for fun, it was 10 days. It was a 10-day journey, and the Olympic had gone on 5, and this was going to Titanic's first, and they pushed it back 2 months. So the Olympic was ready far before the Titanic was. So yeah, for that, I'm going to go back that the staircase thing holds more water, because even though those things were built, they weren't necessarily completely assembled all at the same time.
Yeah.
Because the Titanic wasn't ready for, let's say, another like 4 or 5 months afterwards.
Yeah, and it would cost probably less. It could, I don't know how that would work out, if it would cost less money to move the staircase from one ship to the other than just build a new stair. You know, I don't know.
If we're going on trying to support the argument, I think hiring them to build a new staircase would raise way more questions than just swapping things over. Because even if the guy is new, this one's broken, let's change some of the things. Okay, let me come back to this in just 1 second. We'll just change some things out and everything. What's up?
You had a fun thing that you were trying to remember later.
Oh, I already did it.
Okay, which one was it?
I don't remember. I thought it was fun that it would make more sense just instead of threatening them to just not say anything. I thought that was way funnier. Just like, no, they're not gonna fucking know this. Because it's funny that you mentioned it, because that's exactly what I was talking about at that moment of that. Yeah, that one's broken. Let's take the good shit off of it. Like
it does kind of make sense. Yeah.
Oh, but
like I said, you're a dock worker in the 1910s. You're not gonna.
Who cares? You're just thankful that you're not in a coal mine. Maybe, I don't know. Oh, the other thing, right before the Titanic went off, like that morning, Morgan canceled his trip and also had 7 or 9 specific bronze statues removed, like very expensive statues.
Okay. Yeah, then that's another good argument in support of the, yeah.
It's an argument of support, but also
whatever
like,
happened to those
just
statues?
walk through and be like, guys, we forgot to get those.
Which you would think like even more of a tax write-off, but
yeah, but there's a difference between a write-off and we're never going to get this back.
yeah, what I mean, I'm asking you a question that you probably don't know the answer to, is what happened to those statues? Like,
no idea.
Yeah, I mean,
well,
why would you really?
Said.
Yeah, that'd be a weird, it's just something I was curious about.
He put them on the Olympic.
Put it on the good one now.
Which the other one that we haven't talked about much, the Britannic. It said some people say that it was sunk by a landmine. And then other things say it wasn't a landmine. It was shot down by a U-boat torpedo. It's like, that's really like splitting hairs. Like, the landmine was probably a German landmine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's different, but not really.
Yeah.
I don't see the point in. I mean, we should definitely get history correct, but I don't really.
I guess the intention of like a landmine, or I guess a sea mine, would be, like.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like if they happen to hit it, screw them, and then like intentionally shot down as a
landmine. If it was a landmine,
screw this ship. Yeah, a landmine would be.
If it was a landmine, that's a very different story. You're right. One's
way cooler story if it was a landmine.
Yeah, it's a very different thing. But you're right. One's very passive and one's active. Like one's aggressive.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But you already mentioned like the Lusitania, and I was like, oh yeah, because that was like the World War I stuff, I think.
Yeah, and I re-looked it up because I wasn't certain. World War I started in 1914, so it'd been a couple of years after Titanic sank, and then Lusitania was 15. I forget when it said the Britannic was sunk, but if I remember right, it was prior to the war starting.
Okay, so yeah.
Which then is interesting as well. I mean, I know wars don't just start.
Yeah,
there's always some type of a build-up, but it is interesting that like they had sea mines and shooting down ships, and I was like, oh no, we're not fighting.
Like, come on, people.
I guess it is actually how World War II went. Of like, no, we took Poland.
Yeah,
it's fine. Ignore it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now we're kind of like.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're definitely ignoring it. Yeah. We're ignoring to the point that I don't even know what the status is. I don't know what's happening right now. Because everything stopped reporting on it.
Yeah. I assume it's still ongoing. You would think it wouldn't last that long. Like. So,
from my knowledge of war, that mostly comes from the little fun anecdotes I know, and from playing Civilizations 6. At one point, wars stopped lasting a long time because
you would think like it'd be over by now, but
because things are so much more destructive, and like it's just well, this is gone now. But
I go through phases of following the news very closely, and then I get sad, and then I stop following it so closely. So,
yeah. But like
now I'm in one of my not that closely phases.
Same. And I don't remember the last time I saw any report about it at all. I feel like a recent dollop maybe have made an aside that referenced it. But we all got distracted
by the balloons.
By the balloons, and what's going on with Kanye? and we got distracted by
But
footballs.
now, back to the Titanic. At the end of each one, they do a scale. And,
so, do you want to do want to believe or do believe first?
I think I'll do believe first.
Okay.
Scale
How much?
is 1 to 10.
1 to 10.
I'm at a 6, I think.
I know I'm presenting this, but I'm not too much higher. I'm going to say like a 7, 7.5.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some pretty solid evidence, but I mean, the whole keeping your mouth shut thing, like that's just.
Don't get me wrong. 6 is actually for me pretty high. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, it's a little better than 50-50. Yeah, like better. It's a little better than 50-50 shot. Like,
yeah.
Like 6 ain't bad. Like I know 6 sounds like a D, but 6 ain't bad.
No. Yeah. There's tons of conspiracies. I'm like -1.
And then what to believe? I would probably say 8.
I'm about at an 8 as well.
Yeah.
The only thing keeping me from being like a 9 or a 10 is overall, I don't give a shit.
I'm the same way. Like,
it's fun that they swapped them, but still a ship sunk.
A ship is a ship.
People died. Like the end result is the same. We were saying that the result of this hurting one. This doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is that rich people pulled off maybe an insurance scale.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess if they purposely sank it, then they killed some people. But
right, you're right, because for this to I'm back to caring. That's a really good point. Because I was thinking the result was the same, but the intention's very different.
Yeah, the intention's very different.
Okay, I care more then. I care a little bit more. And then it goes the other way, is that like I kind of don't want to believe it because I don't want to, like, that's but then how different is it between Morgan doing this and like Bezos or Musk giving a shit if like 1,000 people died?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the people died regardless, either way.
No, but I mean, like,
yeah, no, I see what
all
you're
the things that like the treatment of like Amazon workers.
Yeah.
I mean,
aside from the casualties, take the casualties aside, I do think the idea of them all like exploring the shit out of their wrong ship is kind of funny to me.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I guess it wouldn't be the wrong ship, but
yeah,
like the whole endeavor changes. Yeah, the whole endeavor changes flavor of like, we mapped over 20% of the ocean floor to explore an insurance scam, and we never even figured it out. Like, we never even
we don't know.
Yeah, we really don't know, and we're not that curious about it because, you know, it wouldn't be that hard to figure out if you were to really. Yeah. If someone were spending money to try to prove it or disprove it.
Now, do you think this is something that like money should be spent on to solve?
No, not well. I don't. How much is that money, Titanic money, still floating around to like the inheritors and stuff? I guess I don't know. By now, we would think it would be relevant,
but
you know.
But relying on what I know of like the inflation from like Prohibition times, which it's multiplied by 15. So when you look at it that way, I mean, like, so like, yeah, like 15 to 20. Like,
well, I guess I would say
times.
I would say I can, if there's enough people that like really think it's true, I could see spending money on to prove it, just because if it is true, JP Morgan knew that boat would sink, didn't get on it, warned his friends, and 1,500 people died. And I do think historically we need to, like, he's a bigger asshole than we thought.
Yeah,
So just from like, we caught you bastard. You thought you'd get away with it, and I'm sure he's dead by now.
I don't think it would matter.
Or I'm certain he's dead, but yeah, it wouldn't.
He's definitely dead.
Yeah, he's definitely dead.
It wouldn't matter because there's so many. Because like, it's not commonly known, but like you and I know about all these companies that were like Nazi companies, like Hugo Boss and Bayer and Adidas and shit that like we still buy shit from. Like it doesn't matter how evil a company is.
No, I don't think it would wreck J.P. Morgan or anything. But,
right. So that was my initial thought. But like the Morgan family, they're not going to be like And I don't necessarily. I'm not. This is a hard thing because I agree with like the balancing of things of like white straight men like ourselves shouldn't be the ones that are in power. But I don't think that I blame J.P. Morgan's grandson for this.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
but
no, I didn't even mean like take it away from him. I just meant like historic. Like there should be, if he did indeed perpetuate the crime, I can see where like there should be a big asterisk of like, by the way, he was led to the death like 1,500.
Yeah, that's a good point. If it did indeed happen this way, then
but then again, how much money are we talking to spend just to solve this? But if they're going down there all the time anyway, like
and again, all those people keeping their mouth shut is the thing that's stopping me on it, because if you have those pictures of the exterior and that's not what it's supposed to look like, I don't understand what more proof is really needed.
Yeah.
I guess a couple more things, because I'm still like, I don't know.
I've always thought it was a little ghoulish. They're going down there and like going through all their stuff anyway, to be honest with you. Like all the passengers and stuff. Like, I don't know. It's always seemed a little bit like, just like that's down there. Let it.
See,
really?
One of the pages I was looking at was actually against this theory. But like they gave a lot more of like the historical background and everything. Like the first stuff I was reading was from the one that didn't support it. And at one point he said that they should just leave it alone as like a tomb. But he's
I can see that argument.
But he's someone that doesn't support the conspiracy.
Yeah.
So if you do support the conspiracy, then you gotta go down there and fuck with it.
Yeah.
Just
well, I know they're like pulling out their diaries and like finding all their, like they're counting their teacups and they're they're messing with it a lot down there, like
which goes along with like when people want like bodies dug up for like CSI reasons and such. Which now, if I remember right, going back to the beginning, I feel like they have dug up Dillinger a couple of times. And if I remember right, it wasn't like it was still like inconclusive in some way. Or they
dug him up just to try to measure his penis.
Like, is the penis still there? No, it's disintegrated. Like that's not how it works. Do you think because it was that hard, like it stayed longer? Maybe, I don't know.
Possibly.
I don't know how dead dicks work.
So I think I'm still. I got my answer now on what to believe drops from an 8 to a 7.
What's up?
My answer now on what to believe drops from an 8 to a 7.
Oh, you want to now believe it less?
Yeah, just because I thought about it and it'd be kind of shitty.
Yeah, I don't want to think that all these people died not on purpose,
just for the insurance,
Yeah, I don't want all these people to be a casualty of an action. Like
yeah.
I don't want to believe in. I mean, them being an accident, that's one thing, but you know, I don't know.
Maybe down to it. Yeah, now you're bumming me out, man.
I can tell you about the Eastland disaster. That'll make you real sad. There's no conspiracy there. It's just people dying. I was not good.
Yeah.
I was not good on Halloween tours. I'm sure I've told you that before. I wasn't good at them because I would just get sad. Because for there to be a ghost story, someone's got to die.
Yeah.
Okay, but again, if we take the casualties out, like it's kind of fun.
Them down there at the wrong ship is really funny. Like, casualty aside, just like spending millions of dollars on this insurance scam, mapping out like a decent portion of our planet just to like.
I find that so interesting, and like
screw around in the wreckage of a scam is really funny.
Yeah. If it was privately funded, like from James Cameron himself,
I'm willing to bet a decent. I don't know the numbers. I'm willing to bet like at least 25%. It's probably out of his own personal pocket.
Oh, I meant like if they were going to fund to look into it.
Oh yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like if the money came from him.
He's got it now.
He's got so much of it.
Yeah. He could do it in like a weekend if we really like approach.
Have you seen that thing about like with like his movie and like Endgame and Infinity Wars, like going back and forth? Like, but I mean, like of being the highest grossest movie of all time.
I know what you're talking about, but I haven't. Yeah,
they're like it's layered of like his movies versus different Marvel movies, and at the very top is Zoe Saldana just being like, "It's all me."
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's awesome. She's just dancing in big wads of cash.
Yeah, it's great. Let's keep beating each other back and forth.
That's awesome.
Which she's actually said she doesn't want to be in franchises anymore. She wants to, because I can see it being stifling after this many years.
Yeah.
I forget the actor who was in it, but someone, and I don't remember if it was Avatar 1 or 2, but some actor thought that the movie was a flop because.
Oh yeah, I think Edie Falco maybe.
Yeah, which I guess was in this one. Like Avatar 2.
I filmed it like 20 years ago, or
it was so long ago. I assumed it. I
never heard anything about it. Which is awesome.
Yeah, I like the idea of either her being the first or the last person that filmed something. I think it's funny on both ends that like her stuff was done first.
Either way, it was a long time. But yeah, this was the Lizard People.
The Lizard People with Caitlin Hemstead. And I'm going to be honest, I intentionally tried to find a conspiracy theory podcast because I wanted to do this, and I didn't want it to be a dollop. Like I wanted to, to find this own format. But then, well, I know you're a little bit more aware of this. But then I listened to a few different ones, and I was very happy that this was my favorite one because this is the first podcast that we've done that's hosted by a woman.
Yeah.
Which we've made
I listened to a couple of episodes, and no, they do not. They're not allowed to. But this one is
not nearly as often. There's a comedian that does do one called Sports. There's a question mark at the end, and I think it's very funny. That one's hosted by a woman. We're not going to do that one, but just throwing it out there.
And I listened to a couple episodes just in preparation. Every now and then I prepare, believe it or not. And it was it's a fun podcast.
I'm looking forward to listening to more about octopuses or aliens because I'm on board. I already want to believe 10 out of 10.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't need to listen to the rest of it. Like I've already decided.
Yeah.
And even without really getting too far into the episode, I've been cruising at like a 7 for a while.
Yeah, yeah. Even then, yeah. No, they're fascinating critters with all their tentacles.
Didn't you just share the thing with us of the John Oliver thing about octopus?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Octopus,
where it's just
octopi,
him.
octopuses.
Yeah, yeah. He says octopuses because of it's a Greek
Well, no, he said
Greek word.
because it's an American word, and we put es at the
Yeah,
end.
I forget exactly why, but he said it was, if
Yeah,
you look at the root
it's not
word,
octopi because that's a different. Yeah, it's
yeah,
fun.
no, it's
Yeah,
octopus
he called them
according to him.
he called it he called them stealth bagpipes, and that's my favorite nickname for an octopus.
They're awesome. They're awesome creatures.
I like them a lot.
They got a beak.
They have a what?
They have a beak.
They have a beak?
Oh yeah, they've got a beak, sir.
Like a bird?
Yeah.
Or like an octopus?
Yeah, and they can get they can get through any surface or any crack that their beak can fit through. If they can get
like
their
cats
beak through
with their whiskers? That's fun.
Yeah, like if their beak can fit it, they can fit through. Because everything else can get, that's like the hardest part of their body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they can squeeze through anything their beak can get through, which is
That's
pretty
awesome.
incredible.
I'm gonna start like approaching life as if my head is that, and just
Yes, I think you should.
all right.
Yeah,
Well, I can shimmy on. I should be able to.
Yeah, if this head can get in,
Yeah, we should be able to get through.
here comes the rest of me.
Sounds like the preamble of something.
But I think we've got 3 minutes left on our
Yeah.
gigawatts.
3.1 gigawatts. Is that what it is?
Possibly
8.1. What the hell is a gigawatt? It's pretty good, Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, not bad.
Just
not bad.
strain your voice.
Yeah, yeah. His high pitch gigawatt. Nah, I can't quite do it. David Spade has one that he does. I can't remember what he says, but he does it all the time. And it's just his one good impression, and it's Michael J. Fox.
Oh, really? That's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna Google that. David Spade's impression of Michael J. Fox.
Yeah. He does it a lot. It's funny because I've been listening to the one they do on SNL, and Dana Carvey's like an impression machine. He just does them all the time, and David Spade doesn't really do impressions. So just to kind of try to like pop one in there, he'll do his Michael J. Fox like at least once an episode, just like I got this one.
That's fun. Yeah, it's a good time. What's your go-to impression?
I don't know, but I think I remember what David Spade said. It was like, I don't know, Sarge. I don't really do impressions either. I don't have any good go-to ones. Yeah, I do funny voices sometimes, and then once I dial into a funny voice, it's based off anyone, I don't want to stop, and I typically just do it until someone says, "Please stop."
Please stop doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's annoying. You're done.
There's a high-pitched voice that I used to do that yeah, I would. It's fun to me, and I finally realized that no one else thinks it's fun. Like I even did it around kids, and they were like, "No."
Yeah, my kid hates my funny voices. Yeah. Yeah, she's one of the main ones that's like, "Stop!" Like, why? Why are you doing this? And I'm kind of glad I can't do a lot of impressions, because I probably would never talk in my normal speaking voice if I could just go from like impression to impression to impression.
When I get stuck, I get stuck. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty fun. I think for the remainder of it, I'll talk to you like Matthew McConaughey until this less than a minute goes away. Yeah.
All right.
I think it's about time to pop the shirt off. It's a fun one.